And good evening, everyone. I'm Bo Williams. Welcome to The 7. Let's get a look at the big 7 stories for us right now. And topping the list for us tonight, several East Tennesseans who were in Israel last week during the Hamas attacks are now safely back here in the United States. We're told others are safe and out of the country of Israel, waiting to return home from other parts of the world. Now, last week, we told you about the group from First Baptist Church here in Knoxville that went on a pilgrimage to Israel. But when the attacks began, they had to find a way out of the country as quickly as possible. Well, after several days of planning, all 12 members have evacuated.
We thought that in going north, we could actually get more away from the violence, which is concentrated in the south. But within a short amount of time, we were hearing sirens in the north too, and lots of military aircraft in the skies, and just a very surreal experience. And so now we made our way back to Tel Aviv, got safely out of the airport, and we're sitting here in Athens, Greece.
Pastor McDougall says they are relieved to be out of Israel and feel for those who are in the middle of this war. Well, today marks 10 days since the Hamas attacks on Israel, and in the days that followed, this war has become the deadliest of 5 Gaza wars for both sides, with more than 4,000 dead. Right now, more than 1 million people have fled their homes in the Gaza Strip. As we've been reporting, Israel is expected to invade, seeking to eliminate Hamas leadership. And you can keep up with the very latest on this crisis by scanning this QR code you see right now in the middle of your screen. We're posting daily updates on the war over on our website at WATE.com. Our second big 7 story for you tonight, new developments for emergency first responders in our area. Knox County commissioners are weighing the options when it comes to ambulance services for the county. This after an independent firm took a closer look at the area's recent coverage problems. You may remember last month when AMR, the county's current ambulance services company, suddenly ran short on ambulances. The fire department and neighboring first responders had to jump in to help, activating the county's emergency operations center. The firm told commissioners that funding, staffing, and wait times are all problems that contributed to that shortage, but noted that these problems are not unique to AMR. Ultimately, the firm told county leaders that the area Knox County covers requires significant resources, and despite growth in our region, there's been little to no additional funding. 4 providers, including AMR, have now submitted bids to serve Knox County going forward. If another provider is chosen, they'll take over services starting on February 1st, and we'll have much more on this for you coming up tonight at 11 o'clock. Our next big 7 story, arrangements finalized honoring a fallen East Tennessee hero. Funeral arrangements have now been made for the Knoxville soldier killed in an Army vehicle crash in Alaska. Jeremy Evans was one of 2 Army specialists killed on October 2nd when an Army vehicle flipped at a training area in Alaska. Evans was just 23 years old. On Sunday, October 22nd, a funeral motorcade will escort Evans from Minot Funeral Home in Halls to Clear Springs Baptist Church. The motorcade will leave from the funeral home at 12:45 in the afternoon and arrive at the church around 1:15. The Evans family will then receive friends at 2 o'clock at Clear Springs Baptist. That will be followed by a celebration of life service at 4 o'clock. The following day, the funeral procession will leave from Minot Funeral Home at 2:45. A service with full military honors will be held at East Tennessee Veterans Cemetery. That is scheduled to begin at 3:30. Moving down the list for you tonight, KPD looking for help from the community to solve a crime. Maybe you have some information here. Knoxville Police asking for your help to help find and identify a suspect in an ongoing murder investigation. Now, here's what we know. Around 8:30, back on October 4th, a man identified as 47-year-old Dorian Steely was shot outside his Stair Avenue home. An unidentified person drove him to UT Medical Center, where Steely later died. Homicide detectives believe there could be a potential drug-related motive and multiple witnesses, but at this point, very little is known about Steely's murder. Now, no suspects have been arrested or charged. If you know anything that could help investigators, you are asked to call Crime Stoppers. We do have that number. It's at the bottom of your screen. We'll read it off to you. It's 865-215-7165. Next up for you tonight on the 7, visible progress to the multi-use stadium coming to Scruffy City. Instead of a flat construction site, we're now seeing the stadium's outlines forming. The city tells us about 5,000 cubic yards of concrete have now been poured. If you're wondering, that's enough to fill 500 cement mixer trucks. Some of that concrete has gone toward building the home dugout and the stadium wall behind home plate. Plus, it makes up the stadium's retaining walls and thick foundation slabs. Stadium's electrical room has also been constructed, and the tallest part of the stadium so far, the steel framing for the stadium, is already starting to go up. A reminder, the goal is to have the stadium complete and open by the 2025 season. We'll be checking back regularly to check on the progress that the crews are making, but you can finally start to make out a stadium. Good stuff. Small act of kindness that goes a long way sometimes, especially between rivals at a football game. The UT game started off great for Frankie and Kristen Stewart, getting to sit in the home section of the stadium. That was until Frankie says he stood up after the ball scored and noticed he had no feeling in his legs, and he accidentally fell into two Texas A&M fans in front of him. What happened next, well, surprised him. The two A&M fans asked to pray for him. Frankie was diagnosed with cancer and says he believes in things happening for a reason.
I think a lot of different situations that could have happened a lot differently. If I had not went home, if I had not came straight to the hospital, drove 2.5 hours home, a lot of things would have went a little differently, and I could have been completely paralyzed. But I do believe God was working in that situation, and He placed him there for a reason, because there might have been one other Texas A&M fan in that section. Because it's very rare.
They took the time and prayed, and they really asked, can I lay hands on you? And they touched Frankie's body, and I feel within the deepest parts of my soul that they were put there for a reason, and they touched him. And if it wasn't for them, he could be permanently paralyzed. So I feel like He touched it.
After the game, Frankie says they went back home to Spartanburg, South Carolina. Not even 6 hours later, he needed surgery on his spine. Frankie says the surgeons cleaned out where the cancer was on his spine, but he will have to continue his treatments.